Life is a series of journeys, whether that's pursuing a health goal or chasing a career path, or even living in a marriage and growing a family together. It's a pathway, it's a long journey with some end goals in mind. But sometimes we forget why we're on the path or what's so great about it in the dailies, because life does get very daily. We'll have challenges that come up, or maybe doldrums from time to time, or temptations, and we'll forget, why is this journey so great? There was a reason I started on it, and there's a place I'm going. So what we found to do in our family is learn to celebrate the experiences we've had together and the accomplishments we've made together. And that gives us a way to keep our mind focused on the path. So once in a while, we'll just stop and look back and say, where did we come from? Where were we at the beginning of this journey? And why are we better off now? And then we look ahead and remember, where are we going with this? What are our goals? What are the dreams that we made together? And how are we moving toward those? And how are we closer to those than we were when we started? And of course, along the way, what are the special times? What are the things that we enjoyed experiencing together? One way we do that is with Christmas ornaments. This is an ornament we picked up at the Mall of America in, where is it at?
Minnesota.
In Minnesota, right. It's in Moose Country. So we decided, we were a couple years into our marriage, and we thought, let's do something adventurous. So we went to the Boundary Waters in Minnesota because a friend of mine at work told me about it. But we probably had no business doing it. You go to an outfitter, and they'll give you lots of gear and a canoe and cookware and stuff, and they'll drop you off in the backwoods, and they'll pick you up several days later, maybe a week later, and many miles later. And it was a really fun time. We had some crazy moments right away, though. I think I did it. I broke our water supply, like immediately, our water filter. And then, how long was that in that trip?
That was day one.
Yeah, like 20 minutes into the trip.
Yeah.
And so we're thinking, well, what are we going to do for the other 5 days? And we made it through that. And once you get past, it's a bunch of lakes. And once you get past the first lake, and then you have these portages that you'll hike through, there's people around the first lake. But after that, for the whole week, you don't see anybody. It's just you and wildlife. Moose country it's supposed to be, although we didn't see any moose until we got back to the Mall of America. We saw an electronic moose there. We did get lost, right?
Yeah, day one. Remember?
Day one.
We had our map, and the guide had marked off little places where he recommended we camp. And so we went to the first little spot on the map, and we had our compass and our map. You know, we were being like all real traditional adventurers. So the first night we're there, we set up our tent. It's all good. We got our little fire going to cook dinner, and I walk over to the lake to watch the sun, and I'm like, hey, looking at the map, you know, just thinking about the next day. I'm like, hey, Rob, is the sun supposed to set in the east?
No, I don't think so.
I was like, I didn't think so either, but if we're at where we think we're at on the map, then the sun is setting in the east.
So that was day one, and we weren't sure we'd make it to day 4 or 5. We did, and it turns out our kids are glad, because we wouldn't have ever had them if we hadn't made it out. But it was a good opportunity to learn how to trust each other's strengths. For example, which way is east and west, and make it out alive. And we've built our marriage on learning how to do things like
this. This is an ornament from the Pennsylvania Locomotive Museum.
Cool. And why is that special?
Well, for me, I just thought it was a really fun trip because I've always loved trains. And when we went there as family, we all got to ride on a steam locomotive, which was one of the coolest things I've ever done in my life. It was beautiful.
Yeah, it was a little step up from Thomas the Tank Engine. I remember when you liked that.
Ah, certainly, yeah.
Except you didn't like Topham Hatt when we visited him. He was kind of scary.
No, it's plain terrifying.
Yeah.
This one just means a lot to me, mainly because it's just really pretty. And it's really special because, you know, like how many lifetimes and an opportunity does an American get to go to France and then get an Eiffel Tower?
It doesn't have to be ornament that you use. Anything could commemorate your special memories. Anything that you keep track of and look back on and say, wow, that was a really cool time we had. Could be graduation diplomas for a long-earned education. What have you got there, Claire?
We'd like to exchange cards for special occasions, and I kept this one, a little Valentine card from my sweetie.
I do woof you. That's right. How about you, Had? What do you have there?
This is, well, it should be obvious. It's a guitar, like duh. But I've been playing since I was like 7, and eventually just one year for Christmas I just asked for a guitar, and well, look at me now. Yeah, it really means a lot to me.
Yeah.
This is a Gibson, by the way, in case you did not know.
Cool. All right, Bray, what you got?
Or you have nice photos from theme parks like Carowinds, where I learned exactly where the camera was to photobomb.
Yeah, you always do a great job. I always look like I'm terrified, and you're making these awesome poses. Yeah.
You look
And
like
now
you're
I'm
gritting
always
through
looking
the pain.
stupid.
No, you're not. You became a roller coaster fiend at that park. You went from not liking the big coasters to riding the Fury 325, a crazy roller coaster. So good stuff.
Not bad.
Yeah. So anything like that can help you remember the special times. And what we like to do is remember God's hand in it, because He does have a hand in the special times.
That's right. He promises us in verses like Jeremiah 29:11. For I know the plans I have for you, declares the Lord, plans to prosper you and not to harm you, plans to give you a hope and a future.
There were a lot of times in the Bible that God's people would remember the things that He had done for them by commemorating them. There was a time in Joshua 4 when the people, millions of people, were crossing a large river on the way to a land He promised, and God opened up the river so that they could go through on dry land. And that was the second time He had done something like that. So someone said, hey, maybe we should remember this. So they took a bunch of stones and made a pillar and said, this is God's work among us, and we're going to remember that. Well, and that's what we feel like our lives are. All these special times that we have, these are times God gave us. So we want to remember that and commemorate Him for it. So we encourage you to do that as your marriage journey continues. Look back on the special times and remember them and give thanks to God. If you like this video, give us a like. Also, share it with someone who you know. If you live in the Marietta, Georgia community, we would love a chance to meet you face to face. We offer free marriage, parenting, and relationship workshops throughout the year. We host a marriage journey life group where couples who are almost married, newly married, or have been married a long time come together every week, and we encourage each other in God's Word and help each other keep moving in the good plans He has for us. Or, if you're just looking for a great place to go worship, we can recommend a great church, the same one we go to. You can find out all about these things below. Thank you so much, and God bless.